Today, we need to talk about a virus that has the potential to be a global catastrophe. But a lot of people haven't even heard of it. I'm talking about the Nipah virus. To really get a handle on this threat, we're going to break down what two top experts have to say. We've got a virologist who's looked deep into where this thing comes from, and a public health specialist who's all about stopping it in its tracks. Together, they're going to walk us through the science, the real-world risks, and, most importantly, how we can stop a disaster before it starts.
Let's just start with this number because it really says it all. 40 to 75%. That is the devastatingly high fatality rate of the Nipah virus. It's a statistic that immediately shows you how high the stakes are. So to understand why this virus is so incredibly deadly, we're turning to our experts. Dr. A, the virologist, is going to break down the science behind it. And Dr. B, our public health expert, will detail its impact on people and the absolutely crucial steps for prevention.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll define what this threat really is and trace it back to its source in nature. Then we'll look at how it spreads, what it actually does to the human body, and the factors that make it so lethal. And we'll end with the most important part, what we can do to defend ourselves, which is all about prevention. Okay, so what is Nipah exactly? Well, according to our virologist, Dr. A, it's what's known as a zoonotic virus. All that means is that it jumps from animals to people. Now, you might hear it's in the same family as measles, but believe me, that comparison stops right there. As Dr. A really emphasizes, Nipah is just far, far deadlier, a completely different kind of threat. So where does a virus like this even come from? Dr. Andre traces its natural home, its reservoir, to pteropus fruit bats. You might know them as flying foxes. And here's the really crucial part. The bats don't get sick from it. They're just silent carriers, flying around with this incredibly deadly pathogen inside them completely unharmed. Right, so the virus lives in bats, but our public health expert, Dr. B, makes a really important distinction here. The bats themselves aren't the problem. The problem, the actual root cause of every single outbreak, comes down to human behavior. It's the things we do that create the bridge for this virus to cross from the animal kingdom into our world.
And this right here shows exactly how that bridge gets built. As Dr. B explains, the ways it happens are often surprisingly ordinary. It could be something as simple as drinking raw date palm sap that a bat has contaminated, or coming into contact with an infected pig, which can act as a sort of amplifier for the virus. And once it makes that first jump, well then, it can start spreading from person to person.
Dr. A then connects these specific events to much bigger issues. Things like poor food safety or deforestation that forces bats and humans to live closer and closer together. And, of course, weak infection control in hospitals. You see, these factors create a kind of perfect storm that can turn one single spillover event into a full-blown epidemic. So you're probably wondering, how contagious is Nipah? Dr. B clarifies that it's not like COVID-19. It doesn't just spread through the air over long distances. But, and this is a really critical point, because it's so severe, any single transmission is a life-threatening emergency. Dr. Bray breaks it down into three main ways it can spread. First, directly from a bat to a person, usually through food that's been contaminated. Second, it can go through what's called an intermediate host, like a pig, and then to a human. And third, from one person to another. This last one requires really close contact with the bodily fluids of someone who's sick. And as Dr. A points out, that human-to-human transmission puts healthcare workers and family caregivers right on the front lines. They face the absolute highest risk of getting infected. That's why strict protective measures aren't just a good idea, they're absolutely non-negotiable. So once the virus gets inside a person, what does it actually do? Dr. A explains that it launches this devastating two-pronged attack. It goes after the respiratory system, sure, but its main and most terrifying target is the central nervous system. It attacks the brain. Dr. B provides a truly chilling timeline of the illness. It starts off looking a lot like the flu, usually about 3 to 14 days after exposure. But from there, it can escalate with terrifying speed into severe brain inflammation, also known as encephalitis. And here's the critical window. Once those neurological symptoms appear, a patient can fall into a coma in as little as 24 to 48 hours. It's just unbelievably fast. And for the people who do survive, the fight might not be over. Dr. A notes that a large number of them are left with permanent neurological damage. We're talking about things like persistent memory loss, major personality changes, and even chronic seizures. The virus can leave a scar that never fully heals. This all leads us to the biggest question. Why?
What makes Nipah so incredibly deadly? Dr. B points to 3 key factors that come together to make this virus such a powerful opponent for modern medicine.
This table really lays out the whole challenge. As Dr. A explains, there's no specific cure. Treatment is what we call supportive care, basically managing the symptoms with things like oxygen and fluids. There's no approved vaccine yet, which means prevention is literally our only defense. And because the virus attacks the brain so quickly, the infection becomes a desperate race against the clock.
So, given all those challenges, we have to shift our focus. As Dr. B says so emphatically, prevention isn't just our best strategy, it's our only strategy. This is where we can actually take back control.
So what does that prevention look like on the ground? Dr. B gives us these really clear practical steps. It starts with the basics, but they are vital. Wash and peel your fruits, do not drink raw date palm sap, and wash your hands often. It also means isolating anyone who's sick and using protection if you have to handle any animal that might be infected. But it's not just about what individuals do. Dr. B points out the critical measures that whole communities and healthcare systems have to take. Things like covering the pots used to collect sap, running public awareness campaigns, encouraging people to report symptoms early, and, this is a big one, enforcing absolutely strict infection control in hospitals. As we start to wrap this up, let's just sit with the experts' final thoughts for a moment. Dr. A offers this really powerful idea. Nipah isn't some random disease that just fell out of the sky. It's a warning sign. It's a direct result of us, of humans, pushing past natural boundaries. And Dr. B gives us the final practical truth. Until we have a vaccine or a cure, our only real defense is our own behavior. Awareness, good hygiene, and taking action quickly, those are the only things standing between us and the next outbreak. So here's the bottom line. We know where Nipah comes from. We know how it spreads, and we know how to stop it. The science is there. The public health playbook is written. This leaves all of us with one last, vital question. Since we know prevention is so much more powerful than treatment, what is our shared responsibility to act on that knowledge and stop the next outbreak before it even has a chance to begin?